Hey guys, welcome to today's video. After we've moved out here now and kind of shown you guys what we're doing and what, at least partially, that it looks like, we got a really good question from one of our viewers, and we were asked, why did we choose to buy a piece of undeveloped land like this instead of just buying a home with land already with it where we didn't have to do all this? Well, that's a really good question, and we want to explain a little bit about the finances behind that today and really how we got where we got as far as that goes. So that's what we want to spend our time doing today, just kind of help you guys have a better understanding of how we got here.
Hey guys, first I'll introduce myself. I'm Casey. I am the wife. Many people have asked several times about what my name is, and I'm Casey, and I'm the other half of this business. I guess one of the background things you kind of need to know about us is that we grew up in the Birmingham, Alabama area, and we married when we were in college. And when we finished college, we moved to Fort Worth, Texas for Craig to go to graduate school. And when he finished graduate school, we got jobs and we lived in the Fort Worth area for about 11 years. And then we decided we wanted to move back east to be closer to our families. And God provided us the opportunity to move to Paris, Tennessee, and so that's what we did. And so for the last
8 plus years,
yeah,
I'd say.
The last 8 years, we've lived in Paris, Tennessee, and then now we've moved to Florence, Alabama, and we'll get more into why we chose the Florence area later in this video. So for our entire adult lives, we have not lived near our families. This is the closest we've ever lived near our families who are still in the Birmingham area. So we feel really blessed to be as close as we are to them.
Yeah. So when we began looking for a piece of land to buy, two things really, maybe more, but at least a couple of things that we had in mind. Number one is we were trying to get closer to our family. So we satisfied that need with the piece of land that we found. Second is that we had a budget of about $55,000. Now, just to be 100% clear, you guys need to know that some of these numbers we're going to tell you, they are local to our situation at our time. They may not have anything to do with you. Land may be cheaper or more expensive where you live. Utilities may be cheaper or more expensive where you live. We understand that. We're not telling you what you should expect to pay. We're telling you what we paid. And we had a budget of $55,000.
And that was a cash budget.
Right.
That wasn't
We're paying for everything as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we were able to find this 6 acres here in north of Florence, Alabama, a fair bit under that budget, and we were very, very thankful for that. So those two reasons had a lot to do with why we settled here where we did. If we could just pick our ideal perfect spot where we wanted to buy land closer to our parents, there's no way we could even almost afford it. So we didn't even bother looking very much because we knew that land was astronomically priced. So we found this place and we are really satisfied with it. So then, by living in Paris and continuing to have our lives there, this place was within a reasonable drive, so we could drive back and forth when we needed to be working down here, building fence and growing plants and all that. And it was about 2.5 hour drive away. If we got further away than that, it just wouldn't be possible to do all the running back and forth that we were going to need to do in order to develop this place. So we were not in a position, like practically in our lives, we couldn't do it. And it just didn't make any sense for us to try to take on a whole second mortgage when we were going to be moving into it without an income, because we knew that when we left my previous job, we were going to become self-employed and not be making money immediately. So we didn't want to be saddled with any payments that we were going to have this month-to-month desperation to try to be able to make. So in trying to do all of this debt-free, we had to figure out also how to do it in a way where that wasn't going to become a problem. So we chose to buy a piece of land that we could actually afford, and then afford the work going along with it as we went.
I think location is important when you're looking in any location. You have to go with what your budget is and what fits in your budget. And for us, like you said, it was very important not to have this large second mortgage or have this large mortgage going forward. We wanted to be able to, when that mortgage was done, we were done with that. And so we were able to pay cash. And so our checkbook only went so deep. So we had to look at what were our options with our budget and with our finances, and we had to make some calculated risk. I mean, all of this is a risk, but when things are paid for as you're going, if it gets tight, it's okay. You get a job and things work out, but you don't lose your home.
Right, so one of the things that we wanted to get into a little bit now with you guys is what did it actually cost us to do all of this, because we've had to deal with septic, we had to do water, electric, build access, build fence, we had to do all of this. Well, hello, Penny. Welcome. She seems to find a way to worm her way into every video we do. So anyway, we want to share a little bit about the cost of each thing individually with you guys now. All right, so the very first thing that we did when we bought this place, again, it's 6 acres, and the very first thing that we did was we built the fence around it. Now, it's kind of funny because earlier in my life, I did quite a bit of farming and stuff with my grandfather, and I learned everything I know from him as far as being on a place like this, but I have no fencing tools at all. Why in the world would I have any fencing tools? So I didn't buy any fencing tools. So I guess 14 at the time, my 14-year-old daughter and I came and spent several Fridays out here fencing this, and that's quite a task to do that when you have nothing to work with, no tractor, no fence puller, no nothing, but we managed to get a fence put all the way around this thing. And the reason that we wanted to fence it off first is because I knew if we were going to be putting plants out here, we've got neighbors all around. We live out in the country, but there are neighbors around. I didn't want their dogs running around out here destroying our plants, starting some kind of redneck feud out here where I just wanted to keep people's dogs and people's curiosity out of here. So the first thing that we did was we fenced this off, and we spent about $5,000 fencing this off, and that's 100% of that we did ourselves. Now, again, that's about what it costs. These numbers we're giving you, they are approximate, but they're fairly accurate. And besides just putting a lot of time into it, I'd say it was around maybe $6,000, but it's about $5,000 that we spent total.
So the next thing we did was build our road. Total expense for building our road was about $12,000. Now, he could probably tell you more about what they exactly did. So at the entrance, what all did they do?
Well, they put our culvert pipe in, cut an entrance off the road into our place, and built this driveway down here about 200 or so feet. And then about maybe an 8,000 square foot gravel pad out here where we've started building.
And that was very necessary for us to be able to access this property. Because like he said in the other video, the first time he came out here, he got stuck in the mud.
Right.
And we didn't want that happening every time we came.
Right. So then our attention shifted to, okay, now we can access the place. Now we have somewhat secured the place with a fence. Now we've got to get the infrastructure ready out here for us to have some sort of home. So we have a mobile home out here, and we'll show you that, but I've never even considered how much some of these things would cost before, or even how you would get them done, let alone from out of state in a place where I don't know a single person. So this was really challenging getting all of this put together. But one of our other big expenses was our septic, and our septic and perk test with it wound up costing us about $7,000. And that's field lines, and that's 200 and something feet of 4-inch pipe, and septic all in was about $7,000. And that was quite a big expense, but it's one that we were very relieved to have behind us, because if you go online and look for cost of septic, it's all over the place, and we realize that the cost can vary wildly place to place, and requirements that are required in this place versus that place. Thankfully, we're out of the city limits and we don't have to deal with a lot of those things. So anyway, $7,000 is about where we were on our septic install.
I think this would be a good time for me to add, one of the things you need to know about our family is that we live life very simply, and we are very frugal people. We always have been. It's not something that has come challenging for us.
Yeah.
We like to eat at home. I like to cook family meals, so there's not a lot of eating out. Our children enjoy their lives very much, but we don't have any expenses as far as travel ball or I don't know, extreme gymnastics.
We don't take extravagant vacations.
No.
We do take vacations, but not extravagant ones.
We have always been a family who has had a savings plan, and this was something we did over time, but we prepared for this knowing that this was coming. So you need to know that it wasn't just a, hey, we just started writing checks or
Right.
pulled out a credit card. This was
Yeah.
a, calculated risk that we planned for.
And we have chosen to live simply. It's not out of necessity, and we're in no way at all wealthy at all, but we have always made conscious choices to live within our means. And one of the things that has done is it has allowed us then, when the opportunity came and kind of a change in life came up, that it allowed us to be able to do something like this. Saving money has made it possible to do this without being in debt and without having to take the risk involved with debt. So that's worth mentioning in all of this as well.
And I guess the last thing I would add in this section is just that one of the things that we've been very blessed was that we were able to go to school, to college, but we don't have any student debt. So that's always been something that's been very helpful for us. So when you are running a nursery and you have plants, you need water.
You do need water, and you need a lot of water. So getting water access out here was a challenge. Everything has been a challenge, but of course there's city water, public water out here on the road, and we had to have 2 separate water meters put in. Just that's the rules of the water place. And so we have an irrigation line, and we have a line for our house. Our irrigation line is a 1.5 inch line. That's a big water line. Most houses have a 3/4 inch line. Some even have a 1/2 inch line, but dealing with 1.5 inch PVC is a whole other monster than dealing with your normal residential 3/4 inch stuff. And I had to learn about how to handle that stuff a lot. It just doesn't bend well. It takes a lot more glue. It's just a bigger thing to deal with. But our 2 water meters, paying for those 2 water meters, and then running all the piping for them. We have several hundred feet of piping out here in our ground between our irrigation and our house, and we'll extend our irrigation a lot more, but we're around $3,000 with getting water to our house and to our plants. So that's another pretty good expense for us, was getting our water in place. And of course, another big expense we had was our electric. How in the world do you get electric out here on your property? Well, you have to deal with the local electric board and the city and all of that, and their engineering departments. And I've never dealt with any of this stuff before, so it was a bit of a mystery. Didn't know how much any of this was going to cost, but I felt like our electric cost was fairly reasonable, considering that we had to have 2 poles set, we had to have a new transformer put in place, had to have an electrician to come out and wire everything from the pole to the house. But all in on electric, we were about $5,000 between what we paid the city and what we paid an electrician to have everything hooked up. And really, I didn't think that was too bad, because I don't know how to do any of that. I don't like messing with electricity. I don't mind trying to figure out how to do water. If you mess up water, you have a flood or you get wet. If you mess up electricity, people die. So I don't mess with electricity, but I happily paid somebody else to do that for us. So about 5G on that.
We tried to do as much of the work as we could possibly do. We set one of the poles ourselves. We did all the trenching for all the water lines. We've rented a trencher, but it definitely has been a learning experience. And one of the things I would have to say is that anyone trying to do anything new, you have to not be afraid to ask questions. Call people and ask questions, get on social media and ask questions. It's amazing how social media communities allow you to access things or ask questions about things that I guess used to you wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, and the information that's available is incredible, and you got to be willing to learn to do new things. And a couple of times people have mentioned in comments about, man, you know how to do everything, and I really don't. I mean, I have just enough knowledge and just enough know-how to put a few things together on most applications, but I can also cause plenty of problems with my attempts at all of this too. So, kind of as we've gone, I'm learning as we go, getting better at some of this stuff as we go. But man, I've got a lot, and I mean a lot, to learn before I'd really be anybody who is like really competent at doing a lot of this.
And lastly, I would say one of the things that made all of this possible is my husband's patience. He was very patient through all of this, because when you want to do something new and when you get excited about something, you want it to happen now. And this was not something that happened quickly. It was a lot of planning. When we started planning, we were not even sure what it was going to look like in the end. So there was a lot of patience when you're looking for a piece of property. You don't always find what you want when you start looking, and you have to be patient and keep looking, because it took a while to even find something that was in our budget and that was available.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see behind us, this is our little trailer. I'm queen of a double wide now.
Boom.
And this is what we're gonna live in until
we build back behind it. But we got to make some money first and save some money first, and we don't know how long that's going to take, but we're going to do it as fast as we can. But that being said, guys, I hope some of our numbers and just kind of what this has cost us has been helpful to you guys, because that's really a mystery to a lot of people. And people think, well, how much would it cost for me to buy land and develop the land? Well, I don't know how much it would cost you. I just know what it's cost us in our location, in our situation, and all of that. So anyway, just kind of continuing to unfold all of this story here on YouTube for you guys, and I hope that it's been helpful. So listen, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching these videos, and we look forward to seeing y'all on the next one.